How in the heck do you actually use swipe copy when promoting an affiliate offer? How do you get the point across that this product is great or this free training or this webinar is amazing without sounding like everyone else who's sending the same email? Well, stick around because we've figured out a system that works and I'm sharing it in today's episode. So you get your swipe copy from the affiliate manager for an offer you're promoting. You're excited, it's great copy, maybe. And now what do you do with it? How do you actually use that to benefit you and still sound like yourself? Still write an email that's going to convert, but without maybe having to do all the work? Or how do you get the points across that you need to get across? The facts of the offer, the facts of the training, the facts of the whatever it may be. How do you get those across? Well, that's what today's video is all about. Now, before I show you, we're going to do a screen share in a minute. I'm actually going to walk you through step by step how I use swipe copy and how we use it as a team. But I want to establish there's a few problems first that you need to know about. Well, why not just copy and paste the swipe copy? Isn't that what swipe copy is? No! Swipe copy is meant to inspire you. It's inspiration. It's a guide. It's not something you copy and paste. And there's three problems with just copying and pasting swipe copy. First of all, it's not in your voice. The person who wrote that is either a professional copywriter that works for somebody else, or it's the product creator, and it's really hard for them to write copy that's in your voice. You have a unique voice. I know I sure as heck do, and I write in a unique way. I write in a way that, well, it's the style that I write in. Not everybody writes in that way. So that's the first problem, is it's not in your voice. Secondly, it looks like the same thing that everyone else sent. Newsflash, very few people on your list. You're the only person in your niche whose list they're on. You're not the only solution to their problem. You're not the only person they follow in the fill-in-the-blank world. They follow other people, and so if everyone's sending the same emails, you have to basically be the very first person to mail. And even if you're the very first person to mail, they kind of still go, wait a minute, didn't Fred send that same email earlier? That's weird. And then third, usually swipe copy is not that great. Just because it's not meant to be copied and pasted. I know I don't put a lot of time into writing our swipe copy. Our team does not invest probably a third of the time writing swipe copy as we do writing our own final emails when we send out an email. Why? Because we don't expect you to copy and paste it if you're one of our JV partners. We expect you to use it as a guide. So there might be a typo. The intro might not be all that great. The call to action might not be that compelling. Why? Well, because you're not supposed to copy and paste it. So that's three reasons not to copy and paste. So make a promise to me. I will not copy and paste. Matt, I will not copy and paste swipe copy ever, 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 ever. Like ever, ever. Forever, ever? Forever, ever. Do not copy the swipe copy and just paste it into MailChimp or whatever and call it a day. That is the lazy way to do it. I'm all for efficiency, but it's also just a really bad way to do it. So how do you do it? How do you use swipe copy? Well, I'm going to go here on the computer. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you through step by step how we do it. So here we have the swipe copy that we were sent in promoting a product that we were promoting. And this was for Marisa Murgatroyd's Experience Product Masterclass launch. I think this past year is when we promoted that with this particular swipe copy. And you can see here that she, the swipe copy says, "Today I have a question for you. Think a moment about your favorite teacher, one that inspired you." Well, this perfectly sets up actually how we use swipe copy, because I've mentioned before how we typically like to tell a story, and then we have an application of the story, or the lesson learned. So our framework is story, lesson, and then the application to the reader, and then a call to action. Well, this actually set it up really well because immediately this is inducing a story. So this is actually really good swipe copy. But even without that, if the swipe copy is just talking about the facts of the matter, I then go back and try to think of a story. And so you can see here, what we did is got a question for you. Think for a moment about your favorite teacher, one that inspired you. You probably remember their name. For me, it was Mrs. Trippy, my 11th grade history teacher, just like me, blah, 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 right? So I immediately went to here, that was what it was with Mrs. Trippy. She put the story in history. History literally came alive. I felt like I was in the story, and so on and so forth. And so you want to take this and then wrap back around and say, okay, what's an entry point? What's a story I could tell? What's an angle that I could take to actually hook the reader in? And so you take this swipe copy. This swipe copy is actually, again, some of the better swipe copy, because it actually talks about, like, you could literally copy and paste this. Now, we don't encourage that, of course, but you could, because it seems so personal. So it's not the best example of how to use swipe copy because it's so good, but I wanted you to see this anyway. And so you take this and go, okay, what's the personal way I could tell this story? And so again, down here, you can see it was Mrs. Trippy. And, I talk about she's the reason why I love biographies. History wasn't a class or a subject. It was an experience. That's what great teachers do. And then I get even more personal. If you go up here and look at this, you see babies don't learn to walk by having their parents sit them in front of a whiteboard. All right. Go down here. My son, Giovanni, now there should technically be a comma there if you want to get perfect. My son, Giovanni, did not learn to walk by having me sit him in front of a whiteboard. Now, I could have just said babies don't, but I said my son, Giovanni, personalizes it. Just even this, guys, it's like that quick that you can do this. So you can see in this case, we used a lot of the swipe copy because the reality is it's really good and the principles are there. But if you have really bad swipe copy, here's what you do. You take the facts, especially bullet points. If there's a webinar and that webinar is going to cover topics A, B, and C, you can copy and paste those. You really can. The time of the webinar, or this is only available until Friday. Those are facts. You can copy paste those basically. Then you come back and you wrap back around and find that angle, find that story. If there's some way to introduce this topic that's exciting, that's funny, that's on brand, really is the important part for you. And so then you apply that to the reader. So that's what we did here. You say, think about why you remember them. Ooh, was it the way that they, okay, got it. That's what great teachers do. Okay. And then you come down here and you say, if you care about creating real transformation and results in your customers' lives, you have to watch this new video. Okay. There's the application to them. It's also turning into the call to action. Check it out now, et cetera, et cetera. So again, story, lesson, application to the reader, and then the call to action. Most of the time, the calls to action especially are not going to be on brand for you. So you want to stay on brand. What I mean by that is if you go up here, check it out right now. Kind of boring. That's not really on brand. So we say, check it out now. Plus get the free report and then you'll see the video on the next page. Things like that. We added a PS because we usually use a PS. So you want to, stay on brand with your messaging. But what I recommend, what we did to arrive at this, to tell you the process of how we actually arrived at this, is I read the swipe copy to get the facts right. Okay, it's a new video. Here's what the video is about. This is what this is what the product is. If you don't know what that is, that's kind of weird. But this is what the webinar is about. You get the facts from the swipe copy. Then you take some time and you think about the angle. You think about the story. Now this one is real quick because the swipe copy says, think a moment for your favorite teacher. And immediately, Mrs. Trippy, boom, got it. Like I knew right away it was Mrs. Trippy. There was no doubt in my mind. A lot of times you got to go, okay, so the swipe copy is this, and then what was the, where did we go? Okay, oh yeah, I got it. So think about that angle to hook them in. Now I go back and think about the subject line. Okay, now I think about the subject line, and then I fill it in from there, and I just kind of write it in. A lot of times what I'll do, just to show you how I process this, is I will take this swipe copy and I'll paste it down below. So let's just say I'm going to write some new copy. Let's say down here, and I'll just make another thing there, and I'll paste it down below. And I'll say, okay, got a question for you. You know, blah, blah, blah. Who was your favorite teacher? You know, kind of weak, but you get the idea there. Mine was, and now my personal story. And then I'll go, okay, so now we're here. Yep. All right, so now I'm going to go here. So why am I so fond of, Mrs. Trippy, right? And then I go, is it, now I'm back on kind of on, here, but it's more personal to that. And I go through this process. Okay, here, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about Giovanni and so and so. And I'm just moving, now we're going to talk about Giovanni. So I'm going to go here and I kind of keep this in front of me and I just keep going down through the swipe copy as I go. That's how I use the swipe copy so that I make sure I want to hit the factual points. I'm not leaving anything critical out, but I'm also making it my own. So I hope that helps you. I hope that gives you a little bit of insight into how we use swipe copy. It's really not all that complicated, but it's important that, again, you make it personal, but also make sure that you get the facts right and that you're covering all the points that you want to. That's why you use swipe copy. So hope that helps you, and we'll see you in the next video.